Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be going through different ways our body can fight diseases such as the immune system, vaccines and drugs. So let's get started. Firstly, there are three things your body has which fights diseases. So the first one is skin, the second one is hair and mucus, and the third one is stomach acid. So the human body has some features that stops pathogens from getting inside your body in the first place. So firstly, the skin acts as a barrier to pathogens, and it also secretes some substances which can kill pathogens. Hairs and mucuses in your nose traps particles that contain pathogens. The trachea and bronchi, which is part of the breathing pipework, and we'll be going through this in a future topic. So they secrete mucus to trap pathogens, and they're also lined with cilia. So that's a hair-like structure which keeps the mucus at the back of the throat where it can be swallowed, and the stomach produces hydrochloric acid, and this kills the pathogens that make it that far from the mouth. So if pathogens do make it into your body, that's when immune system kicks in to destroy them. So firstly, the immune system can consume them. So there's these certain cells, there are these certain white blood cells called phagocytes, and the process is called phagocytosis. And this is when white blood cells engulf, which means eat, foreign cells and digest them. The second thing they can do is produce antibodies. So every invading pathogen has a unique molecule called antigens on its surface. So antigens are basically like little branches coming out of the virus or pathogen. And when a type of white blood cell comes across this foreign antigen, so one they don't recognize, they will start to produce proteins called antibodies to lock onto the invading cells so they can be found and destroyed by other white blood cells. So the antibodies that are produced are specific to that type of antigen, so they won't lock onto any others. So this is basically similar to the enzyme substrate complex, and we've been through this in a different video. So go check that video out if you haven't watched it. So what happens is that the antigen is obviously those sticks coming out of the pathogen, and white blood cells produce antibodies, which are also other sticks that are complementary to the shape of the antigen. So they attach to the antigen and then slowly kill the bacteria. So remember, antigen is on the it's on the pathogen, and the antibodies are on the white blood cells. And the third way is by producing antitoxins. So when bacteria invade our body, they produce these toxins that can make us feel unwell. So antitoxins are basically substances that counteract the toxins produced by the invading bacteria. So, and these are formed by lymphocytes, which are another type of white blood cells. So over here we learned that there are two white blood cells, phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes engulf bacteria, and lymphocytes release antitoxins to counteract the toxins released from the bacteria. Okay, so now what happens? Now onto vaccination. And this is when vaccination is used to prevent and protect you from future infection. So when you're infected with a new pathogen, it takes your white blood cells a few days to learn how to deal with it, but by that time you can go pretty ill. So vaccines involve injecting small amounts of dead or inactive pathogens, and these carry antigens. So remember, antigens are on the bacteria. So the antigens cause your body to produce antibodies to attack them. Even though that the pathogen is harmless since it's dead or inactive, antibodies still produce, white blood cells still produce antibodies. And so this is so that if the same living pathogens invade the body in the future, the white blood cells can rapidly mass produce antibodies to kill off the pathogen, because once the white blood cells kill the pathogen, they memorize what type of antibody they needed to make. So they're quicker if the same exact pathogen invades your body again. So there are many pros and cons of vaccination. So a few pros are that vaccines have helped control lots of communicable diseases that were once common in the UK, for example, measles and whooping cough. And also it prevents big outbreak of diseases called epidemics. So, yeah. And the cons are that vaccines don't always work, and sometimes they don't give you immunity. And you can also sometimes have a very bad reaction to a vaccine. But these bad reactions are very rare. Now, the last one is drugs. So some drugs, such as antibiotics, cure the problem, while others, such as painkillers, relieve the pain. So painkillers are drugs that relieve your pain. However, they don't actually tackle the cause of the disease or kill the pathogen. They just help reduce the symptoms. So painkillers relieve the symptoms, and antibiotics actually kill the bacteria. So they kill the bacteria without killing your own body cells. And different antibiotics kill different types of bacteria, so it's important to be treated with the right one when you're ill. But painkillers are usually used when you've got a virus or viral disease, and antibiotics are used when you have a bacterial disease. Antibiotics cannot work on viruses because viruses reproduce inside your own body cells, so that in this process it would kill your own body cells as well. Hence, antibiotics don't work on viruses. And in some cases, bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics, and this happens when you stop an antibiotic course in between, and this is when bacteria mutates, so it's resistant to the antibiotic. And so this is when you treat the infection, only the non-resistant strains of bacteria will be killed, and the resistant bacteria will survive and reproduce, so the population of the resistant strain will increase. And this resistant strain could cause a serious infection that can't be treated by antibiotics, and can also create serious wounded infections. So to slow down the rate of development of resistant strains, it's important for your doctors to avoid over-prescribing antibiotics so you won't get them for a sore throat, only for something more serious. And as I said before, it's also important that you finish the whole course of antibiotics and don't just stop when you feel better. So where do drugs come from? So many drugs originally come from plants. And plants produce a variety of chemicals to defend themselves against pests and pathogens. So some of these chemicals can be used as drugs to treat human diseases or relieve symptoms. And a lot of our current medicines were discovered by studying plants used in traditional cures. For example, aspirin is used as a painkiller and to lower fever. And it was developed from a chemical found in willow. And in some cases, some drugs were also extracted from microorganisms. So now on to developing drugs. So the stages of drug testing. So there's three stages: preclinical testing in human cells, preclinical testing on live animals, and clinical trial. So in preclinical testing, drugs are tested on human cells and tissues in the lab. The second step is preclinical testing to test the drugs on live animals, and this is to test efficiency, whether the drug works and produces the effect you're looking for. And it also helps scientists find out about how toxic the drug is, and also find the best dosage. And there's a law in Britain that states that any new drug must be tested on 2 different live mammals. So I know many people think it's cruel to test on animals, but other people think it's the safest way to make sure a drug isn't dangerous before it's given to humans. And the third stage is that if the drug passes to test on animals, then it's tested on human volunteers in clinical trials. So first the drug is tested on healthy volunteers, and this is to make sure it doesn't have any harmful side effects when the body is working normally. And if the results of the tests on healthy volunteers are good, then drugs can be tested on people suffering from the illness. And then an optimum dosage is found, and you also see how well the drug works. So that's all we have to know for this bit, guys. Thanks for watching, and also comment down below whether you support testing drugs on animals or you are against it. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, make sure to support